Hey everyone, I'm Yvette Lloyd, host of Life Her podcast. Today on our podcast show, we are joined by Bria Harris. She is the CEO, founder of Impress Tax Service. Since 2018, Bria has transformed her passion for financial education into a nationally recognized award-winning firm which serves many clients in the 50 states. Known for her honest approach, hands-on guidance, and also her committed to underserved communities, which is amazing. Bria is on a mission to simplify taxes and empower others through financial literacy. Y'all, welcome Bria. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Well, it's nice meeting you. I love your energy. And I want to tell you, by the way, your pictures are fire.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
I
Wait
was
till
like,
you see
come
these ones
through, Bria.
here.
I'm like, she ain't come to play.
No. And this year is gonna be I revamped my website and I revamped pictures. I feel like you're supposed to bring a new look every year. So this year, not spilling too much, but this year they're not gonna be ready because it's a step up. So
Hey, it's always good to apply some pressure, a little
yes,
razzle
ma'am.
dazzle.
Little razzle dazzle.
So, Bria, before you actually got into tax and everything, who was Bria before actually doing financial literacy and taxes and everything?
Oh gosh, Bria was a mom. Okay, so I have two lovely sons. They are 14 and 15, be 15 and 16 this year. Bria was finishing college. Bria was a struggling mother. Bria used to work at McDonald's. Bria used to work at Dunkin' Donuts as a general manager to get through college. And, when nobody wanted to give her a job out of college, they'd say, hey, go to college. And then no one would give you a job because you don't have no experience, right?
Yeah.
So Bria was, barely making ends meet. Bria used to, work as a shift manager at McDonald's making $9 an hour to get by to make sure me and my kids. Bria was someone with a striving ambitious energy, but still trying to get there. So before the tax game, before I got into financial literacy, and before I finished college, Bria was someone just up and coming, and still regular humble girl, but somebody who went through things, so I can understand when people come from certain parts of life because I've been there.
Yes. So what actually encouraged you and just gave you that inspiration? Like, look, I'm just getting ready to go in this direction because it's needed.
What really made me go there is two things. I feel like in the minority community, we lack financial literacy, we lack financial understanding, we lack budget. We don't really understand how the finance game really, really works. So I wanted to do something where, I could teach other entrepreneurs, okay, and other regular people that, hey, you can make good money, but you can budget and still have a lavish lifestyle with a budget, and you don't have to live like your own social media. But also catching a lot of younger generation, because I volunteer at Broward and Dade County Schools. So I go in and I teach financial literacy. I also partner with the Boys and Girls Club as of this year and teaching teenagers how to budget their money and just really getting yourself set up, because sometimes we don't discuss those things at home. Sometimes we have a life, we come from a background where you don't discuss finances in the house. You don't know what's going on. You don't know about credit. You don't know how to actually utilize it until you get out here and you make mistakes. So I told myself, you know what, Bria, this is a game changer because you're young. People will relate to you. You can make yourself relatable and your personality and who you are. You don't make nobody feel like they're dumb. You can actually make them understand with them just being on the vibe with you. So
Yes, that is so true, Bria. And I admire that about you because in our communities or even in our schools, they're not teaching and preparing our young adults for financial literacy and how to step out and actually become an adult, pay some bills and everything. Because I know you are a mother, but I know me seeing my friends being mothers, the kids be they be thinking their parents rich, but the parents just know how to make a way and know how to make things happen for them. But just the fact that you just stepping out in the community, that is beautiful.
Yeah, so I just wanted to do something different that I feel like we don't pour much into. You got a lot of people who call themselves influencer and they're still giving you the wrong information. So when you really go look it up, you're like, wait a minute, huh? This is not correct. It doesn't really work like this, but people don't understand, you know. So I wanted to give a different motive to where it's just like, hey, you know what, everything she's speaking about, you can actually go fact check and that's correct. So it's not me just making up things and making it seem like, oh, I'm this guru and I'm this. No, I'm a regular person, but I'm going to teach you the correct way and actually how to understand it and utilize it the right way, not just telling you something that, you know, sell you things.
Yeah, that's real. I love that. I really do. Girl, no, because I do a lot of checking when it comes to people being on my show, and I just it kind of bothers me sometimes when people are led the wrong way because you're messing with people's livelihood. And I just be wanting people to develop the right information so that they can create a better life for themselves and create legacy and everything. But when it comes to taxes, especially in the business field, a lot of people are small business owners, but they don't know the ins and outs of filing their taxes when it comes to things like that and creating liens and all types of stuff. I could go on and on about it. What direction do you take as far as helping individuals to let them know it's not just about having an LLC and an EIN, it's deeper than that?
Well, first, it depends on what type of business you have. A lot of people push for LLC, and the reason why a lot of people push for LLC is because with it being a limited liability company, it takes the responsibility out for you if someone comes sue you. So a lot of people are like, oh, okay, I just need to have LLC, but maybe not all businesses need to be a LLC. You might want to look into a partnership. If you have more than one person, you may want to look into an S corp or a difference between a C corp. You know, you kind of want to see what kind of fits your business. A lot of people run away from corporations because they're like, oh, but they don't understand the tax benefits and they don't understand how it actually operates. So an LLC is great. Having an EIN is great. But then I have people who have LLCs and EIN, and they don't even have a business account open. They're getting 6-7 figures in their personal account. And you're like, wait a minute. So how are you doing a business tax and you don't even have business receipts because you're not really utilizing it the correct way? So I think what it is just being able to understand what type of registration that you have as far as your business. Then you need to sit down and do some research or sit down with your CPA or your EA or, you know, someone who's knowledgeable or your accountant who can sit down and tell you what the difference is and what's the different tax breaks for each category. So that way you can make a decision. Sometimes before you register your business, you can actually sit down and kind of make a decision like, okay, you know what is an S corp? Okay, so what's the difference between an S corp and a C corp? Okay, so why is the LLC is this? So it's more than just saying I have a business. It's about understanding the type of entity that you actually have. And then making sure you're doing the taxes correctly. I done seen some people go to somebody and they have an LLC, but they're taxing themselves as an S corp, but don't realize if you're taxing yourself as an S corp, you actually have to register with the IRS to make sure you can be taxed as an S corp. And then they're wondering why they're getting kicked back and then they're owing money back because they don't went and put this type of form that's supposed to be on this type of schedule.
Yeah.
Or they don't realize they're supposed to be 1120, and then you really need a 1065, which if you are LLC or a partnership, you will have a 1065, and there's different type of filings other than your Schedule C, which everybody say, oh, you have to have a Schedule C. Schedule C is great on a personal tax when you're claiming what you make on your own. When you're making a certain a certain amount of money, you definitely need to sit there and separate that. And I think a lot of people don't understand. So that's when you need to get a CPA or an accountant or an EA holder or a road agent to sit down and tell you, hey, I don't think you should be doing this no more. If you're making this type of money, then I might want to come over here. What did you pay yourself? Okay, are you paying yourself? Okay, so what you paid yourself, you need to claim on your personal taxes, or even sit down with a payroll company and say, hey, maybe I don't want to be a 1099. Maybe I don't want to do estimated quarterly payments and owe so much at the end of the year. Maybe I might want to issue myself a W-2 and put myself on payroll for my for my personal taxes, but then on my business taxes, I can pay my business tax and what it is on the quarterly side. A lot of people don't understand that. And I kind of show my clients that, when you go on irs.gov, you have an individual and you have a business account. You could do estimated payments under your business name, keep those receipts, and then that will apply to the end of the year. And then, if you owe anything, great. At the end of the year, if you come out even, great. You could kind of estimate your company on what you normally would do with sales. So if you're a person who makes $100,000 every year, okay, that's about $26,000 that you're going to pay in taxes. So split that up in 4 payments, or save at the end of the year and make your one payment, so that way you don't get behind so much. So a lot of people just don't understand the type of forms. If you have employees, the 940s and the 941s, goes at hand. So it's just really about understanding what you're doing.
Yeah, that is so true. So what are your top 3 financial mistakes you see people making when it comes to taxes?
Not keeping records, meaning they don't have any type of, I had this much expense. Okay, well, show me the receipts. Do you have QuickBooks? Do you have mileage log? Do you have anything that can show? No. Mistake number 1, always keep records. Second mistake I see a lot of people do, they don't actually open up business accounts because they're scared to have so much money going in and they have to pay the taxes at the end of the year. So they think they could take a cheat way and make all their money go into their personal account, and then want to sit here and say, oh yeah, I got a business that I have an LLC and an EIN, but I don't have no records. Well, do you have a business bank account so I can look at your bank statements? No, it goes in my personal account, but I can tell you how much. The IRS doesn't look at it like that, unfortunately, Right. And then the third biggest mistake is registering a business and not understanding what type of business you actually have, or the type of entity that you register for. And I see people who register for S Corp or C Corp that maybe might not be ready for S Corp or C Corp. They may be more ready for just having an LLC or a sole proprietorship until they're ready to switch over to an S Corp or C Corp. So I just think those are the 3 biggest things I have seen that people really just not too knowledgeable in.
So how early should someone start preparing for tax season, especially the entrepreneurs and side hustlers?
Immediately. Like, even all my clients who I have business clients now, they're already preparing for 25, 26 tax season from now. They're doing their estimated quarterly payments. The people who are paying in bulk payment at the end of the year, they're getting themselves ready. You need to start preparing yourself as soon as you're done with your taxes for that year. Even if you have an extension till October, or if you have an S Corp or a C Corp, you have an extension till September. You're supposed to have filed that extension by March. And then if you have an LLC, self-employed, or, W-2s or anything, you get till October. But you need to start preparing for the following year. You need to be on top of it from that January of that year, on top of it, so that way you don't fall behind. So never wait and say, oh, okay, I got time. No, keep your books in order month by month. Have a bookkeeper. If you're not a person that's good with keeping records and receipts, get a bookkeeper. Yes, you may have to pay that bookkeeper, but at least your P&Ls are going to be ready. You know exactly what expenses you made. You know what your gross was. You know where everything went. And then by the time you go file your taxes, it's not as much of a headache versus waiting until, oh my gosh, I got to run around. Oh, this date's coming up, get an extension because I'm not ready. And that's what majority of people do, because they're not preparing themselves throughout the year. You have to prepare yourself every year from the start of that year. I don't care if you're a W-2 or if you're a business owner, you need to prepare yourself every year from the start of the year for the following year.
So can you break down the importance of understanding tax write-offs and how to identify the legitimate business expenses?
Yes. So you need to be able to understand, first of all, write-offs depends on what type of entity you have. So LLC write-offs may not qualify for some of the things you have on S Corp or C Corp write-offs. So you need to kind of look and see, which it is public knowledge, you guys, on irs.gov. You can actually look it up and see what qualifications you have per entity. So, I think once you kind of understand that, you would kind of know, okay, hey, expense wise, all right, this is what I'll qualify for to be able to write these off. This does not qualify for it. Some people come to me and they'll say, oh, well, I did this. Okay, but that's not a qualification. Oh, I bought a new car. Okay, is the car in your business name? Is it under your LLC or your S Corp name? Is it anything with your business? Well, if it's not in your business name, you can't write off your car note, which people ask me. You can write off mileage, gas, because if you're using it for business oriented, meaning like if you're going back and forth, if you have a personal vehicle, but you're going to maybe a business lunch, or you're going to a business event, okay, download a mileage log. If you're not old school and want to have a mileage actual log or go to Staples or Office Max and get one. It's manage log apps that will connect. Okay. Keep your receipts, connect your QuickBooks. If you have a QuickBooks, which I recommend a lot of my clients to have, or a bookkeeper, connect it to where it can actually, break down your expenses. So I think it's just really understanding what write-offs goes with which entity that you may have. Meals that will go towards anyone as long as it's a business meal, not entertainment. And a lot of people think that you could do entertainment. No, if I take you to go see Beyonce because I want to, try to wow you, that's not a business expense. And a lot of people will think that is. That's not. That's entertainment, and it's not a write-off.
That is true. A lot of people do get that confused. Now, when it comes to having a business, say for instance, a business is in your home, um, how would someone be able to break that down because of them having their business at their home? Like, for instance, a daycare center. Say someone has an in-home daycare.
Not a
How,
problem.
so how would they break that down of as far as the expenses between personal and business?
So you'll have to set it up. So right now I'm in my home office. Okay. So what the IRS will do is there's a certain form called 8829. Okay. 8829 is a form that you attach to your tax return for your home business. Okay. You can only claim up to 300 square feet. Okay. So how my office is set, right? Unfortunately, I'm on my laptop, so I can't kind of flip the camera around to show you guys. You will be like, okay, perfect. So great. Then your utilities, right? Your utilities is for business and personal. So how much usage a day for the month are you using for your utilities while you're working or doing home activities? So you can still get your utilities will be light bill, phone bill if you have a phone or a fax at home. Okay. And then if you're like paying rent or mortgage or any of that nature, you can utilize so much of that. It's not going to be the full amount, but you'll be able to use those percentage of it. So if you're only using, say for instance, I'm only using 40% of my utilities for my home office. So 40% is what you're going to claim. You cannot claim more than 50% because again, you still got personal use.
Got you.
So it's just all about calculating and making sure you're utilizing that particular part. So if for instance, I have a personal phone. So my personal phone is strictly for family and friends. I have a business phone. So that line that I pay for, I'm going to calculate that because that is actually what I use to book my clients. That is who I use to be able to speak to, if I'm going to go, do any speaking engagements or anything of that nature. So that particular bill, I could claim the whole amount. So if it's on one bill, like I have mines on, well, then I have to separate it. How much is that particular line? So if that particular line is $50 a month, then that's $50 a month times 12. And that's what I can claim as utilities for my business. So it's just about calculation. And I think a lot of people just need to sit down and calculate and then you'll be good. But you can utilize it, whether it's a daycare, if you have a home office, if you're making t-shirts at your garage. I seen some lady start a school in her garage on TikTok a few months ago, which I thought was really cool. You know what I mean? So that whole garage space and any utilities she used in there, whether it's AC or whatever, all of that is calculated for her home business because guess what? That's what she can actually prove. And if the IRS audit team ever comes out to her home, you can't say I don't have a home office. It's set up. It's utilized. Here we go.
Wow. So as far as someone starting a new business, some people are knowledgeable of things, some aren't. So who wants to, how could you give someone a owner advice on wanting to stay compliant and organized financially from day one?
Before you start a new business, I always say two things you're going to always need in business. Okay. You're going to need a good CPA or an accountant, and you're going to need a good lawyer, right? Always kind of sit down and kind of get an idea of what you're budgeting and what you're looking at, to get started for that particular business. If you have questions about the entity, then you can sit down and ask those, questions so that way you're aware of that. Once you sit down and you kind of figure out what you kind of want to do, then it's going to be the next step up. I don't care if you're a small business, you're not even making hardly nothing. Sit down and say, hey, what apps can I use? Or, hey, I don't have the money to pay someone yet monthly because, most of us accountants and bookkeepers, we charge a monthly fee, right? I don't really have nobody to do that yet, but how can I manage it on my own where it's a little bit more affordable so that way I can, keep track. And if you don't have it, I tell my people all the time, go old school and do an Excel sheet. Hey, this
Yeah.
is what I gross the month of January. This is what my expenses is. This is, you go to each cell block and write off everything. Now it's a little bit more work, but that will save you a little bit of money till you where you get to where you need to go. So you need to start from the first day you're doing business. So even if that month that you didn't make any money, okay, notate that. Hey, I didn't make any money, but I put 3,000 in to start my business. Okay, great. But put that down as expense. All right. Oh, great. The next month I made a little bit of money back, but I'm still in the negative. It's okay because the IRS understands that's why they give you up to 3 years to be in the negative where it looks like you're taking a loss for the first 3 years because most businesses, it takes a while for you to really get to a level where you're profitable, right?
Right.
Then after those 3 years, you might want to be profitable. So if you're not profitable after the first year and a half, you might want to sit down and rethink the game and what you're doing and come up with a different financial strategy. So those are other things that I offer as well. And I sit down with my clients to sit down and say, okay, where you see yourself a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now in business. Okay, 10 years from now in business. Okay, so this is the financial game that we're going to do to get you there. You need to follow this, you need to follow that, watch your spending, do this. And I think once you kind of understand that, you'll be okay.
So you talk a lot about the financial literacy and as far as like how simple it can be, but what is one concept most people overcomplicate and how would you simplify it?
I think one thing people overcomplicate with financial literacy is budgeting. To being honest with you, I think really what it is, a lot of my business owners, what I see, they don't budget for either starting a business or maintaining a business.
I
And
can see
then
that.
and that's the mistake I think a lot of them make because they don't. And then including, I mean, that's anybody start a business because when you never went to school to start a business because you don't have to go to school and get your MBA and do all these things in business or major in business to get it, to start a business. Okay, hello, we got Kanye West, we got Bill Gates who dropped out of college and look at him, a billionaire. So we're not going to say you have to have that knowledge, but you might want to have some understanding. But I think a lot of people don't budget correctly. So when they sit down, they say, okay, hey, I'm going to start this company, but then they realize that they put themselves in more debt than what they're going to be able to come back from because they didn't sit down and actually come up with a good financial strategy plan. So it sounds very simple, but it's not as simple as you think it can be because we don't put a lot of thought and time and effort to really just scaling our business, or we want to sit there and, oh, well, this person is charging this, so I can charge that. Sometimes right out the gate, you can't, because I was not charging my prices the way I was that I am now because of who I am now when I first started. You got to build your name first, so you got to come up with something to not really put yourself to where you're not profitable. So I was still being able to make myself profitable, but I wasn't charging the prices at first that I was charging because who was Bria Harris? You just started. I don't know who you are. You know what I mean? So, but again, I will still be able to be profitable. So I think those are the two biggest mistakes that we make when we're starting a business, learning how to scale and how to budget to maintain it. And that's for any business owner who started, including myself.
Girl, yes. So what's the difference between taxpayer preparer and someone that provides a full financial planning service like you do?
So a tax preparer, I could teach you how to do taxes. I mean, I offer those that I teach classes throughout the summer. I teach classes all the way up until November on how to be a tax preparer. A tax preparer is someone who I can teach and learn how to do basic tax returns. So you'll learn how to do your W-2s, you learn how to do your 1099-Rs, you learn how to do a lot of personal taxes. So a tax preparer is somebody who went and either got a PTIN, which is a PTIN holder, which is through the IRS. That's a PTIN is what we use, including myself, to be able to identify who filed that person's tax return. Okay. And then they may go and get an EFIN to be able to start their office, but they're just tax preparation. They don't know, majority of the time, they couldn't tell you a difference between the two of certain things, but a tax preparer is just somebody who prepares taxes. Then you have someone like myself who is a CPA. /accountant/EA holder. So I'm an enrolled agent in a CAA agency, so certified accepting agency, because I'm in South Florida. So a lot of people who come up and don't have social security cards, I'm able to get them an I-10 number through the IRS. So again, you can fact check, and you can use those to open up your business bank accounts, be able to file taxes to show that you're doing yourself a productive, being trying to be a productive citizen until you finish, going through immigration. So because of that, that's the difference. So someone who is just specialized in doing taxes, you just see them by April 15th, you don't see them no more until they pop up in January. Then you got someone like myself who offer monthly services, and I can sit down and actually go through a financial plan with you and kind of show you where you're at with your business, where you can grow better with your business, and help you analyze your business so you can understand it. So that's, I think, is a little bit of a difference. Someone who was really into financials versus somebody just, I want to prepare your personal taxes and you're gone. Because most tax preparers, they don't know how to do business taxes. They couldn't even tell you what I'm talking about. What is a 1065? They might have to go and Google, like, what is a 1065 for? Oh, okay, so if you're S Corp or a C Corp, you're supposed to go on 1120. They don't. What is 1120? Or what is a K1 tax? So they don't know about those things, but my team does, because I had to actually educate my tax preparers who work underneath me a little bit more so they can have a little bit more experience versus just saying, hey, I'm going to do taxes. They might not, some tax preparers may not even go and, do the continuing education classes. I do. I mean, it's required anyway as an EA holder and a CPA, but I do. So that way, because the laws change year to year. The mileage change year to year to what you can claim. The child tax credit claim changes year to year. The earned income credit changes year to year. Your AGI limits on what's considered, which is your annual gross income, you guys, what you consider being low income, so you can get these certain credits change year to year. So you gotta know.
So for someone dealing with the IRS issues or debt, what's the first step they should take?
So if you're ever dealing with an audit, okay, or IRS issue, always contact the person who completed your taxes to see if they can assist you first. Okay, because some audits you can clear up. Sometimes the IRS randomly pick that person and say, hey, you know what? I want you to prove this to me. That's why you got to be careful in your documentation and make sure you have all documentation. So that way, if that ever arises, you're kind of good to go, right? We do offer tax debt resolution. So a company that does partner with someone to help do tax debt resolution. And we also, as a CPA, do offer compromises to help you get out of that situation if you're not making the type of money you used to make and you owe all this money, right? Because if you owe $10,000 or more, then you'll qualify for tax debt resolution. Okay. So again, it's just sit down with, someone who's educated who can help you through this. Majority of the time when you're dealing with the audit, you're going to want to get someone who's an enrolled agent or a CPA or a tax attorney. Okay. A lot of people don't know, yes, you have tax attorneys, you guys, who can sit there with you and represent you while you're in the middle of going through the audit or while you're in the middle of going to court to, serve your case.
Wow. So when people is running a business or even individuals that have something as a side hustle and still work a 9 to 5, can you explain the difference between the independent contractor 1099 and an employee of a W-2 form of tax perfections?
Of course. So someone who is a W-2 employee, they are working for someone. Okay, that means you clock in, you clock out. That particular company is responsible for the payroll taxes. Okay, so that particular company does a 940 and a 941, and they do that quarterly. Okay, so they report that to the IRS. They are responsible. The client gets their issued their W-2 at the end of the year. They go file and they'll get some of their money back on the taxes. A lot of people don't understand taxes is not for you to get the full amount back, because some people be like, oh, I took $21,000 in taxes, I'm supposed to get that back. No. Remember, we pay taxes to help, the schools, the judges, the police, the fire department. So a lot of people don't realize that's why we're paying taxes. It's not for you to get all that money back, okay? So and this is stuff that I educate people on. So that particular company chooses to make sure that they're responsible for everything. And then that employee is only going to go ahead and file that W-2, either get back, the little $2-3 grand, or if they have children, sometimes $4, $5, $6, $7 grand, depending on how many kids you have. And then that's your money to have back, right? Somebody who's an independent contractor or somebody who has a side hustle, or 1099, you're collecting all your funds up front. So my Uber drivers, my Lyft drivers, my electricians, my plumbers who go work for the county or something like that, and they're doing a little side contract trial for the weekend, and they paid them $10,000, and they paid you all cash. Now you're responsible at the end of the year to owe that money. So a lot of people feel like, oh, I went to go pick up 1099 and make all my money at the end of the year, I'm gonna get a refund back. No. You did not take out any taxes. That particular employer decided not to be responsible for 940s and 941 tax return. They only wanted to go ahead and report that they paid people, which is legal. Okay, so they report that, hey, I paid this many, I had this many contract laborers, okay, that worked for me for this year, and I paid them this amount of money, and then they pay the taxes on the whole of what they made for their, that company. And then they'll issue you your portion, and then you pay your taxes at the end of the year. So that's the difference between a W-2 employee and someone who's an independent contractor. You're collecting all your cash up front with no taxes taken out, so you're responsible at the end of the year. You can also do estimated quarterly taxes, even if you're a 1099 employee or a side hustle under individual, because you're not business, okay?
Right.
You're business under individual, and that will help reduce your tax liability. Okay, so that's the difference between a W-2 and a 1099 employee. Someone who has W-2s is someone who already clocking in for somebody. That company is, devoted to making sure everybody's okay. And then the person who's 1099 collecting all their cash up front, so they have to pay at the end of the year.
So what's the smartest way to pay yourself as a business owner, and how does that affect your taxes?
The smartest way to pay yourself, I always tell my business owners, 30% of what you make for the month. Okay. How you pay yourself, track everything. Do yourself either, if you have the same bank, okay. Some of my clients be like, oh, my personal, my business account was at the same place. Great. If you're doing an account transfer over, label it payroll for Sasha. That's the owner. Okay. Just give you an example. All right. And then that's your payroll. All right. If you are banking with a different bank than where your business bank is at, do a wire or a cashier's check to yourself monthly. The reason why you want to do it that way is because if you're writing out payroll for yourself on your business taxes and the IRS ever come back and audit you and tell me, let me see that. Oh, no problem. On my business bank statements, here this is. Here's my wire. Here's my proof. Here's my cashier's check that I paid myself. This is who I pay my employees through. This is what I do. Da, 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 da. So it makes it a little bit more easier to have that proof. So like my people who work under me are 1099 employees. So every time I pay them, okay, I make sure I notate who I'm paying, why I'm paying, the date I'm paying, and what clients got paid out that day. So that way they know exactly what's going on. So when I go and write those things off at the end of the year to say, hey, I paid my team this amount of money, it's there in documentation. The same way when you're paying yourself as a business owner, 30% of what you made that month. Sometimes when you first own the business, you might have to pay yourself everything because you got a lot of bills going on, right? So I understand that. But once you get yourself established, 30% of whatever you made for that month is supposed to be for you. Then you're going to have your part where you might have to, buy your products if you're selling things. Your marketing, no more than 25% on marketing. I tell a lot of people that 25% is enough. A lot of people overspend on marketing. 25% is a good. So, then if you have maybe you have a restaurant, you have to take all those things into consideration. So it's basically about a percentage block. So the 100% of the business, what are you doing? All right. Make sure everything else is taken care of before you can pay yourself. But no more than 30% monthly, you should pay yourself. And always do it by wire or by cashier's check. Never do it by cash. Because if you say you paid yourself cash, the IRS is going to say, okay, but what business owner pay themselves by cash?
That is true. So what are your thoughts on building generational wealth, especially from a tax smart perspective?
I think it's amazing. I think we need to focus more on that, building generational wealth, building businesses where we can, hand down to, even if you don't have any kids, maybe somebody who a guy baby, a nephew, a niece, building generational wealth is something that we do not do in our communities. And you'll see it, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but you'll see it in every other community. One thing about me, when I used to work for the white people, That's one thing I've learned with them. They start teaching them from when they're like 6, 7 years old.
Yes, they
They're
do.
teaching them from young. Okay. Hey, you're gonna go work at daddy office this summer. Okay, you're gonna go learn a thing or two. Versus us, oh, you 18, get out, go figure it out. No. But I feel like if we can break that and come together and be more of a stronger community, I think we'll be okay. But I'm really big on building generational wealth. I think it starts from now. And if you're not the first person in your family, be the first person in the family to change that. I'm the first person in my family to change it. I'm changing certain things. I'm not, the nurse in my family. I'm not the person that went to college and said, this is what I want to do. I went to college, but I end up branching out and become a successful entrepreneur. So, at the end of the day, I think breaking generational wealth is a good idea. It just starts within the household and what you decide you want to do. So,
Yes, that is, man, it's so important because the way we lack it, but the abilities that we have to be so intelligent and have so many opportunities for us to get so much further to help more individuals in our community. So I applaud you for even just taking that leap out on faith and to do that.
yeah, I feel like again we need to do more of those things.
Yeah.
We need to have that in our communities. I feel like once we come together and stop fighting with each other, if somebody else do taxes, I don't care. It's a billion people in this country. I can't do a billion people. So what's wrong with teaming up with somebody else who is doing the same thing as you and not being jealous or weird? I think if you sell clothes, great. You have a podcast. How many people have podcasts? But maybe what I'm doing and what I'm talking about is different from what you're doing and what you're talking
Yeah.
about. But we can come together and actually, make a statement to show that, hey, it's not about, a competition. It's about building. It's about coming together. It's about standing united. It's about reaching out and showing the generation that, hey, it's okay. If you're a rapper, no worries. I could rap about something different. We might not be rapping about the same thing. You sing, maybe you sing a high pitch, I sing a low pitch. Maybe I got a Tony Braxton voice, you might got a Mariah Carey, but we can still be the same. And I
No,
think,
for
I
real.
think, I think once we realize that in the community, I think it will be a lot more easier to be able to come together. So that's just my personal thoughts.
Yes. So you do more than taxes. You do credit repair, cash advance, notary. You help people as far as account management, business startup. I love that you're so versatile. It's like a one-stop shop type of thing because people need a lot of that, especially when just as far as just even personal taxes of 9 to 5 and even a business, it's like you literally have everything there to prepare you for a better life. What made you just branch off into the different sectors like that?
So it's funny. So with credit repair, a lot of my clients be like, Bria, you already have my personal information. Why not? Right? I trust you. Real estate, I got my real estate license, never did anything with it because I realized what had happened was that sounded good at the time. It sounded really good at the time. And I actually still renew my license, but it sounded really, really good at the time. Because my clients like, oh, Bria, I buy a home for you, my financials, da da da. But when it comes to being in my busy season, the first 5 months, it's hard for me to be able to give that customer service. And I'm very big on customer service to be able to stop what I'm doing, go show you a house, do this, get on the phone, call this person, do that. So I was like, yeah, Bria, sounded good at the time, but maybe not just yet. And then when I wanted to specialize, it was in luxury real estate.
Yeah,
And yeah, you got to be attentive with those clients. Okay. So
you
it
do.
was like, and then business startup, because as an accountant, I can really give you some good advice. So when you're starting a business, why not have a one-stop shop where you can sit down with me for a free consultation? I can tell you what you need to do, and then possibly more than likely you're going to end up booking me for using my services. So I just kind of was like, hey, let me make it a little bit more versatile. Notary, because a lot of my clients, again, they need things notarized, right? They know me already. Why not come to the person who I already know? So it was kind of more just making, to where my clients are comfortable and the customer service can be at a one-stop shop versus having to be one stop here and they got to go somewhere else to do this and then find somebody else to do that. So I try to make myself more useful than just saying, hey, yes, we do taxes. Yes, we do taxes, but hey, we also have, again, tax debt resolution, credit repair. During my busy season, I partner with two people who are amazing to offer credit repair for my clients that give the excellent customer service just like me. Cash advances. See in the back, we do cash advances during tax season. A lot of clients who are maybe waiting, on refunds and they're claiming certain credits like child tax credit or earned income credit or American Opportunity Credit, which is your college credits. They put a hold on your taxes automatically to a certain time of the year. So you're not getting that money released till after February 15th. You're not getting paid until the end of February. My single people, my married people, big up yourself. You're okay, right? But for anybody else who are claiming certain credits, you're not getting it. You know what I mean? So people don't want to wait for their money. So I partner with the authorized bank, which I'm not allowed to name drop on here for security
Yes,
reasons.
yes, respect.
I partner with the authorized bank, which just like H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt. So we offer those services to not only do cash advance, but maybe my clients who are coming to me who are W-2s, they may not be able to afford to pay me my fee up front. So it's more than just that. We'll do fast forward where you can get your early direct deposit. You will also get cash advance if you decide to get a cash advance, a little 500, a little 1,000, a little 15, 2, 3, 4, until the rest of your money is released. And then if you can't afford to pay me up front, then I can also take my fee out as long as you don't owe back debt, child support, or you have a business tax, because business tax, of course, you're not getting anything back unless you overpaid and estimated taxes. But that's about it. So yeah, I decided to offer all those services to make sure, it's a convenience for the clients.
That is dope. I really love that. So you talked about going global. What are some of the practical steps you're taking or that others could take towards scaling their business?
For me, I hit a certain number that I can do by myself. For a while, I was doing marketing by myself. It was just a one-man team. It was just me. I told myself this year, in order for me to make it to the M's and really open up my sub offices and do in other areas, I need to get more publicity. So I told myself last year I'm hiring one of a PR agent, which you already kind of met already. Big up Crystal. I love her and Leah. Amazing.
Yes.
And I really wanted to take my business to a different level. So in order for me to do that, I need the right publicity for one, because the wrong publicity can hurt you. But I needed the right publicity, but I needed to step up my looks, my image, and getting people to know who Empress Tax Service is. Even though on Google, you will see I have clients from California to United States Virgin Islands to New York. You look at 5-star reviews across the board and open 6 years this year on my own. And the consistency, you'll see people will be on my reviews like, oh, I've been with her for 3-4 years. Her customer service never changed. She's amazing. She makes you understand. She doesn't make you feel like that. Like I'm very big on being, but how can other people really get to take me to a global brand and get to know me and who was Empress Tax Service and what she could provide? Maybe I can use her services, but I know her, but I don't know her. So the steps I'm taking is public relations, and I will definitely tell anybody invest into marketing when it comes to your brand. You can never be too big into letting other people know who you are to get out there and be discovered. I just hired a lady who is now going to be doing content for me. So she'll be coming starting this Friday. So I'm super excited. And she'll be following me, shooting content, helping me do reels, getting my TikTok ready to really get out there, because with TikTok, I know they want to hear you. Like how we're talking right now, I guarantee you probably some of it probably would have been viral now, but right now, because they're like, oh, okay, she's keeping it real. This is stuff that we want to hear. She's not being, she's humble. She's who she is. And she's being honest with people. And she's giving you some real advice that you can really actually go and look up and say, oh, okay, yeah, she was right about that. Yeah, so they're looking for somebody, but how can somebody know that if they don't hear me speak? So I said, Bria, less flyers and more of you. People want to get to know who the person is behind the brand. So that's something that I'm really investing in myself this year to be able to get to the next level that I want to do.
Go on, Bria. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Well, because it's like you're really dope. I did a lot of research on you and you're rare. You're a hidden gem and you deserve to be on the front. A lot of people is looking for realness, honesty, for someone to genuinely help them get to where they gotta go. And you're one of those individuals as far as what I've saw, even the testimonials and things of people say about you. It's just you're rare. You need to be seen and heard.
That's the plan. So you guys gonna see a lot more of me in the future, and hopefully to an office near you. Manifesting it because I'm always big in that. Speak positivity in what you want in life, right? So I'm
Yes,
manifesting this next level to go global and really get people to know who Bria Harris is and what her team has to offer. And hey, I've been there. I'm not a person that's gonna judge. I've been there. You heard me say in the beginning, I worked at McDonald's, you guys. I was homeless before. People don't know that I slept in my vehicle. I've been through an abusive relationship with my child's father. So I understand what people come through, but that doesn't stop me. It helped me and motivated me. It told me, Bria, you
yes,
do better and you're going to do better. Why? Because at the end of the day, them boys got somebody to look up to. They can sit here and say, Mom, I remember we was here. Now I'm going to the store and buy my Jordans that she wants to every time when I ask her, gotta have good grades though. I'm big on that. I'm disciplinary. So, but so it feels good to be able to sit here and say, hey, you know what, give back something that is a rare gem so people can really understand and make people understand it without being in these big words and you're like, huh, I'm confused by the time I walk out of here. Like I can make you really understand and build a relationship. So that's where I'm headed to.
So, how can people get in contact with you and follow you and just keep up with everything that you are doing?
Love it. So you can find me on TikTok at Boss Lady Tax Plug. You can find me on Instagram at Empress Tax Service 19. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Empress Tax Service. And you can find me on LinkedIn. And if everybody want to know where LinkedIn is where all the business people are at. Trust me, you want to be on LinkedIn at Empress Tax Service. You can also find me on my website, www.empresstaxservices.com. And you can also call me directly at any number listed above. And if you want my personal business direct number to me, which all my clients, all my business connects have, 762-217-5954.
Thank you so much, Bria. I really appreciate you, your transparency, and the things that you have going on with your business and will be doing. So I can't wait to watch you grow.
Thank you. I'm excited.
I
Yeah, I'll
am
do a
too.
part 2 later on and come back with some follow-ups.
Yes. Yes, I would love that. Seriously, because that'd be so dope because sometimes people need to see someone else's journey and watch them go and then hear where they at now. Girl, that is powerful.
Yeah, I've been through it, and it's funny. I said one day I'm gonna write a book, and I will watch because there's a lot of
Yes.
stuff that I've been through, and it just made me stronger. It just made me not to give up because they always say you're a product of your environment. No, you're a product to what choices you made.
Yes.
And that's just what life is. We all done made choices. Can't nobody sit here and judge nobody. And I think once people realize that, can't pass judgment on nobody. How you gonna sit here? People will act like they got a perfect life. People don't been through things. I don't
Yes.
care if they got multi-million-dollar houses. Them be the ones that you be like, whoa, I didn't even know he was on drugs or he done murdered his wife. Like, wait a minute, he didn't even seem like he was that person. He was so cool. I lived next to him
No.
for 25 years. But we got to be real within ourselves. And I think once you
Yeah.
can be with, accept who you are and know that nobody can sit here and tell you, oh, Bria, I remember when that was the old Bria, but this is the new Bria. And everybody has a past, but accept your past and move forward. And just know that that's what made you stronger. But this is who I am now. And it's okay to change. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So, thank you everyone for tuning in to Life Her podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and also listen on all major platforms audio.